slow Joe Louis whoop me, slow moving, shuffling Joe Louis, beat me.
When I wake up in the morning and the alarm gets out of warning, I don't think I'll ever make it on time. By the time I grab my books and I give myself a look, I'm at the corner just in time to see the bus fly by. It's alright, 'cause I'm saved by the bell.
Hello and welcome to Saved by the Bell Boxing. Neither right, neither left, neither orthodox, neither South Pole, but straight down the middle like Deontay Wilder's right hand, which we could be expecting to see this weekend. Now, this is my first video of 2020. I've sort of been waiting for this fight before I did a video. As you can tell, I'm in the van. And I was gonna go home and do the video, but I'm like sitting in traffic and it's gonna take me ages to get back. So I thought, right, well, while I'm here, I might as well just do a video. I'm bored out of my face, so let's just do a video about the fight now and save myself some time. I don't know how it will go. I might have to go back and redo it when I get home, who knows. But okay, so we're at the start of the week of this long anticipated rematch between the Gypsy King and the Bronze Bomber. A fight that I think a hell of a lot of people are interested in. A hell of a lot of people have split views on how this is going to go, which way it's going to go, who can adapt, who can make different changes. There's, the change of trainers, there's weights, weight sizes in the men. Pardon me, who's putting on weight, who's not putting on weight. There's all of these things, and so let's sit and discuss it. So, let's start off with Tyson Fury. Now, Tyson Fury, since the last fight, has come in and he's had two fights against lower opponents. People weren't happy with it. What was the point? Where do you go from Deontay Wilder and then go and fight these two what was seen as not really credible fighters? And they weren't. Wallin especially giving him a cut and giving him trouble. Seemed like he wanted rounds in that fight, but really when we watched him, we didn't see anything different that you'd see from Tyson Fury. Only maybe the possibility that he wasn't really up for those fights, that he didn't really want those fights. Well, he wanted them, but he wasn't really, it was a walk in the park for him. Now, we finally get to the rematch. The rematch was announced, obviously, for this month. A lot of people believe that this fight wouldn't take place because it was too soon after Deontay Wilder had fought Luis Ortiz in November, I think it was. So a lot of people thought it wouldn't happen. Now, we've watched Fury's career sort of take off since pre the Deontay Wilder fight. There's the whole wrestling thing, there's the weight loss, there's those two fights with the big flashy entrances in Las Vegas, which have caught the attention of the American public and the public worldwide. There was a song with Robbie Williams. Never mind. There's the book, which apparently is the biggest selling boxing book in history, more than Mike Tyson's book. So his profile has just gone into the stratosphere. Then with the loss for Joshua, even though he came back and won the rematch, but that loss kind of like knocked Joshua's status a little bit and kind of elevated Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury into what they are saying the two best heavyweights in the world. And at this point in time, you can't really complain that because they're both undefeated. They've both never been beaten. Although you could say that Tyson Fury had won the fight with Deontay Wilder, but if you look at the scorecards, they had Tyson Fury was winning that fight, and I believed he won that fight, but he was winning that fight. And if it weren't really for those knockdowns, or especially the second knockdown, it would be champion now, and we'd be looking at the rematch possibly for Deontay Wilder to come back and regain his WBC title. So Tyson Fury, well, there's been a lot of discussion with people I know that have said that, well, you know, this time Wilder's going to knock him out. I don't know. And my pure opinion is differs from a lot of people. Now, Tyson Fury is such a naturally gifted fighter. He's always in control in that ring, especially with someone like Deontay Wilder, who is probably, well, they'll say that he's probably like a toughest opponent, because Deontay Wilder is so unorthodox, throws punches in funny angles. He's not really, there's no one really out there like Tyson Fury. There's no one really out there that fights like him, and we know he relies heavily on that right hand. So Fury can be in control, but the issue with Deontay Wilder, you switch off for a second and he's gone. Now, Tyson Fury is fully aware of that fact. He knows. And remember, he's been in the ring with him before, so he knows what he's all about. And Deontay Wilder isn't, from his opinion, and possibly from my opinion, he's really not going to adapt to anything different. He is what he is. You know, it's worked so many times for him before with that right hand. He isn't going to change. And it's tough to teach someone to fight a different way. So he's not going to fight away. So you kind of know what he's going to get. He'll probably need to adapt a little bit. Well, I'll talk about that later. Tyson Fury, on the other hand, what does he need to do to win the fight? Well, for me, what he needs to do to fight, and this is how I think he'll win the fight, is by doing what he did before. You'd hope he's in better shape now. You hope, you know, I know he's got a new trainer, new dietitians, etc., etc. You hope, you know, over the year he's become fitter, better shape. He's never really had a stamina issue, Tyson Fury. It doesn't mean because if you're not body beautiful, you've got a stamina issue. That it don't work like that, and we've seen that. And that's facts. You know, he hasn't got a stamina issue, so it's more about, with Tyson Fury, with that first fight, he's being as sharp and as quick. And Tyson Fury, I don't believe, was at his sharpest and quickest. But you'd hope now, after the time he spent in the gym and the couple of fights he's had, even though there were no great shakes, that he probably is a lot sharper. He's a lot more aware of what Deontay Wilder can bring to the table. And I think Tyson Fury is the one fighter out of the pair of them that can adapt and can make changes, because his boxing brain is unlimited. It's, you know, it's something very special. There's been a change of trainer. So the change of trainer, again, I don't see it as a massive issue. I really don't see it as a massive issue. I know, as I was with a lot of people, like when Ben Davison took over, who is Ben Davison? What has he done? You know, we hark back to when he was in Billy Joe Saunders, you know, corner for that fight, and Billy Joe Saunders struggled through and nearly lost, you know, against an average opponent. Now, for me, that wasn't Ben Davison's fault. That was just Billy Joe Saunders not being prepared. You know, it's that simple. But he went as the trainer in probably one of the biggest heavyweight title fights in a very long time, bringing Tyson Fury back from the brink with the weight loss, and that fight had major pressure, major attention, 2 knockdowns. You know, that had everything, that fight, for a trainer to sort of deal with and to navigate around. And it's the same with the 2 fights in between, with the major cut. He's got to deal with those things. He's got to deal with motivation. He's got to deal with tactics. He's got to deal with all of this stuff. And he did a good job. You can't deny it. He did a good job. Now, some people have said they would have done it differently at the time of the last fight. Freddie Roach said he would have made him more aggressive. But, you know, Tyson Fury is not a come-forward fighter. He's not at his best. He can do it. And he can be effective, but let's be honest, his bread and butter is sitting off the back foot, which, well, let me sort this out. He's hitting off the back foot, and that's where he's better. You know, he's a better counter puncher. He's a slicker mover. He can move. Thank you, Blue Van, for knocking that son out. He's a better he's a slick mover, and he can see those punches coming, and that's where he likes to be. Come off and hit him with a counter, the counter punch. So although I don't think the change of trainer is a massive issue, because it's like Tyson Fury is a natural boxer. Man, that guy was born to be a boxer. He's that good. And it's like an amazing footballer. They make things that maybe not from the educated eye from the outside, but trust me, if you know anything about boxing, you watch Tyson Fury and you will go, wow, you know, a man of that size, how does he do those things? Because he's natural, like Messi, like Ronaldo, using a football analogy. They're just naturally gifted. They were born to do it, and Tyson Fury was born to be a fighter. Do you know what I mean? Because even at half cock, yeah, that's a word, a half cock, he could still pull out victories because he's that good. Now, people say that he's chinny, he can get caught. Okay, well, he did get caught, but he got up amazingly, and we all know about the memes and the footage and the rising and Deontay Wilder's face and all that shit, and it was amazing. But when he got knocked down by Cunningham, and people always go back to that he got knocked down by a cruiserweight, Steve Cunningham. So from that fight, and I say this to everyone that brings this argument up to me, from that fight he adapted and he started to work more on the back foot of boxing and being a slick mover and a slick fighter, because he knows he is a little bit chinny, not massively, but he can get caught and he can go, because we'd seen it. And he adapted after that Cunningham fight. Now, there's a lot of talk from Fury's camp that he's going to stand, he's going to, with Sugar Hill and the Kronk Gym, and the Kronk Gym's MO is pretty much knock him out. It's knockdown on knockouts. That's, you know, if you look at like Tommy Hearns was, you know, brutally knock you out. And that is something Emmanuel Stewart, whether Sugar Hill, his new trainer, adopts that philosophy, I don't know. But if it's a Kronk sort of environment philosophy, then possibly. But I do not buy. I know a lot of people have said, and I've read it and I've heard it, and friends have told me that to stop a big puncher, you've got to get into on his chest, you've got to push him back so he doesn't give him the leverage, doesn't allow him the room to hit that right hand. But I don't think Tyson Fury needs to do that, and doesn't want to do it. He may say that he's going to sit down his punches, finishing it in two. I think that's just Tyson Fury being Tyson Fury, to be honest with you, because I have heard interviews where he said, well, you know, Deontay Wilder, which is true, needs the knockout. I can have the knockout, or I can win on points. So he's kind of giving it away a little bit there. I don't honestly think he's going to sit down in the centre of the ring, sit on his punches, and try and knock Deontay Wilder out. I'm not buying that. Do you know what I mean? I am not buying that. Now, people say, well, he will have to do that to get the points decision. Well, remember in the last fight, the person that scored him down, because they're all American fighters in Nevada, where there was American judges in Nevada, in Los Angeles, there was one British judge, and he was the one that scored Fury down. Now, again, I've heard of interview about talking about Tyson Fury's not worried about it because the home of the great Floyd Mayweather, who is a technical boxer who never knocked people out for a long time, used to get decisions. So, you know, he's saying that they appreciate good boxing, they appreciate skill. So kind of, to me, I don't buy this thing of that he's going to go and try and knock him out. I just don't think that's an issue. And as for the change of trainer, I think, again, Tyson Fury is that good. He kind of doesn't, the trainer doesn't really come into it. The trainer can show him a few things, can help with the conditioning, etc., etc. But Tyson Fury, when he goes into a boxing ring, does what he wants to do because he can think. He's got a boxing brain and he can think and he can adapt. He doesn't need someone to tell him that you should be doing this, you should be doing that, because he knows, and he comes out and he adapts and he moves. He has said that in the last fight he was in control, and he kind of, to me, looked like he was in control. But then you take your eye off the ball with 1 second with Deontay Wilder, which you can't do, which you can't do with him, and he will spark you. He'll knock you out. Now, you won't get that from other fighters, so you can afford to switch off every now and again with other fighters, and you're not going to get knocked out. But with Deontay Wilder's power, that's going to happen. Now, they're saying that Tyson Fury's going to come in heavier. He needs to be heavier. His dad, John Fury, said that he needs to be a stone heavier so he's got better heaviness with his shots beyond power. Now, they're also contradicting. I've heard from interviews and stuff that Tyson Fury's coming in, he's looking lean. So, and he's got a different nutritionist, the same nutritionist apparently that Conor McGregor uses. And having watched him from interviews, he's clean. His skin looks good. He looks fresh. He looks, rejuvenated, and maybe that's the dietitian that's been brought on board is making a difference. So for me, what Tyson Fury needs to do is do what he did in the first fight. Just do what he did in the first fight, and he'll win that fight on points. I don't believe he's going to knock him out. And I spoke to someone, and they predicted that Wilder's going to knock him out, going to win. And he said, what do you think? And I said, Fury on points. Fury's going to do it on points. He's going to do what he did last time. And they said I was predictable and boring. Well, I'm not. That's what I think. That's what I think he's going to. I'm not going to say, Fury's going to knock him out to say Fury's going to knock him out, because I don't think it will happen. I think it will. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it's not an unknown possibility. Nothing's unknown. There could be disqualifications. There could be knockouts one side, knockouts the other. But let's be honest. Edging your bets. If you're a betting man, for me, the best bet is that he's going to win by points. Now, Deontay Wilder, as I said before, is very unorthodox. Throws punches from different angles, a very crazy style. So he is a tough opponent because he doesn't do things textbook like Tyson Fury doesn't do, but in a different way. He's wild, his punches come at funny angles, and it's not necessarily, it's not taught, that isn't, that's just, but he relies so much on that right hand, and eventually I believe that's only going to take you so far. You're only going to be able to rely on that right hand for so long, and then your luck's going to run out. And it nearly ran out with Luis Ortiz. Luis Ortiz for 7 rounds was bossing that fight, was schooling him, and then that one moment, as I've said before, that Deontay Wilder sticks his fist right in your face so you can't see it, and then bing, and that right hand comes over the top. So we know if you can avoid that right hand, easier said than done, he ain't going to knock you out, because that's his punch. And Luis Ortiz was bossing that fight and was winning that fight by some distance. Sorry about the light. Was bossing that fight by some distance, and could have gone on. And you could see, and I've said this in previous videos, you could see when the fight ended, Luis Ortiz was gutted. He was smacking the corner because he knew he switched off for just that second, and that's dangerous. He switched off for just that second, and boom, fight was over. Good night. And that's what Deontay Wilder can do. Now, Deontay Wilder, he's a freak. He's a freak of nature. They talk about him, the best. Is he the best knockout artist? The most powerful knockout punch, in heavyweight history. Well, you know what? I probably think he's not far off him. I know people have gone back and talked about George Foreman and Kenny Norton and different, famous Tyson, famous fighters from the past. But, and they always talk about when they try and compare fighters, and they try and compare eras. Like, there you go, mate. He's got nice hair. Fighters and eras, they talk about, well, the fighters were lighter then, they were smaller guys. Now, yeah, Deontay Wilder, he's tall, but he's coming at fights at 15 odd stone, 16 stone, which is small for a heavyweight, but he's got this freakish power where it comes from up above, or if you believe in that, it comes from God. So, but he becomes too reliant on it, and I just don't think, eventually that's going to run out. You cannot rely on that. eventually something's going to go wrong, and that's where your boxing's got to come into it. So can he adapt to adapt from the last fight? Well, no, because you would have thought, I don't think he can, because you'd have thought if he'd adapted and learned, he would have gone into the Luis Ortiz fight differently. But he didn't. It was pretty much the same. He got outboxed, but then caught Luis Ortiz. And if Luis Ortiz had been switched on, or maybe younger, or whatever thing you want to say, he might be WBC champion now. So I don't think Deontay Wilder can make the relevant adaptations, the word, to his game to beat Tyson Fury. So what would I do if I was Deontay Wilder? How would I go about this? Well, you've kind of got to let Tyson Fury does what he does. You know, he's got to use his jab more. He never used his jab enough for the last fight. He needs to use his jab more. But when you're jabbing someone in the head and their head is moving, that gets tiring. But he doesn't need to put power in that jab. Just use it as a rangefinder. And as I said, cover the face. You can't see the face, and then bing, and use that right hand over the top. So he just wants to be hitting everywhere. Hit his body, hit his arms, hit his stomach, his chest. Just get gloves on him to try and slow him down, to try and make him, to slow him down and feel the pace. So, you can maybe get to him in the later rounds with that right hand, as he showed he did before. And just keep stalking him, because that's all you really can do. Now, what does Tyson Fury need to do? Tyson Fury really doesn't have to make massive changes. He needs to do what Tyson Fury does. He needs to dance, he needs to move, he needs the head movement, he needs to keep the distance, needs to fight off the back foot, and he needs to keep switched on for the whole of the 12 rounds. If he does that, I believe he wins, because he's just a better boxer. Now, Deontay Wilder says, and he freely admits this himself, you need to be switched on for 12. You need to be switched on for the whole 12 rounds. Do you know what I mean? You need those 12 rounds. I need 5 seconds, 10 seconds. That's all I need to end the fight. So the idea is you avoid that, giving him that 10 seconds, which is tough. Let's not get it wrong. I'm not saying it's an easy job, but it's tough, because you've got 12 rounds to be totally switched on. So you're going to get caught, of course you are, but not get caught clean. Because if you get caught clean, I don't know whether he can get up like he did last time. A lot of people said, well, yeah, he took Wilder's punch and he wasn't even super fit and he got up from it. Well, can he do that again? I don't know. It's because he is a devastating puncher. So for me, I think Fury wins. I think he wins by points. I think he does what he does last time. I don't think he's going to stand and trade and get in the trenches with Deontay Wilder, because that would be the worst thing you could possibly do. And he knows it. He's not stupid. Wilder to win, he needs to stalk him. He needs to hit every part of his body and just try and put pressure. Easier said than done, but that's what he needs to do. He can't. The one thing I will say about Deontay Wilder is that he's patient and he doesn't panic. Again, because he knows he's got that right hand. With Luis Ortiz, he never panicked. He was 7 rounds down, but at no point did he panic, because he knew at some point, I'm going to get to you. So, I will think it will pretty much go the way the first fight went. That's my honest opinion. I don't think there's going to be massive changes in it, because I just think both fighters are sort of set how they set and how they win. So it's just if Wilder does catch him, he keeps him down. That's how Deontay Wilder wins. But I think that's easier said than done, because I think Tyson Fury will be a lot more switched on than he was the first fight, because he knows now and he's felt the power, etc. It sounds really pro Fury. Well, I'm British, so of course I'm going to be pro Fury. But of course he can win this fight. Of course he can beat anyone. And the whole old saying of fighters, heavyweight fighters, anything can happen. Well, yeah, anything can happen, but it's definitely a fight I'll be watching, and I'm sure a lot of people are watching, and it's split decisions, excuse the pun, but it's a split decision on who's going to win this. But you know, let's all get behind it, let's watch it, and let's you know, leave your comments below on who you think's going to win the fight, how you think is going to win the fight. Everyone has an opinion, everyone has an asshole, etc, etc. So yeah, let's look forward to it. And thanks for watching from the van. I always say I'm going to try and make another video, but it's just life, isn't it? Life's I'm busy, I'm so busy, I ain't got time for nothing. Anyway, keep watching Saved by the Bell Boxing, and remember, just enjoy your life. Just enjoy your life. Anyway, peace.